Hey math, how you all doing today? It is Wednesday, April 29th. Here's what you're going to do with this video today. So last Friday, you guys had 8 problems to do. It was called an equation review, and you watched this after I made an equation review video. What you're going to do with this video is you're now going to grade your own equation review. Now, of course, you would not watch this video until you've actually done that assignment and submitted it. So if you haven't completed that assignment, you need to stop right now, go finish the video, submit it for me, please. Okay? All right, so once you do have the equation review done and you're ready to check it, you will notice in my module, and you might want to go look at this before you start, there is a there's a little chart that you're going to go through on each of the 8 problems, and you're going to tell me if you got it right or wrong. And then as you watch my video, if you got it wrong, you're going to give me a sentence or two of why you got it wrong. So unfortunately, if you miss all 8, then I should see 8 explanations of why you missed each problem. Okay? So the only way you're going to be able to figure out what you missed is by watching my video. All right? So here we go. I'm going to start working each problem out. All right, so here's problem number 1. So what you should have done was, there is no distributive property, there are no fractions, so the first thing you should have done was combine like terms on the same side. So if I take 5x minus 4x, that gives me 1x plus 9. On the right-hand side, I have a positive 6 and a negative 8. If I put those together, that's negative 2, so I have 3x minus 2. Okay? Next step is move all variables to one side, and I've always told you I go to the left. So I'm going to minus 3x from both sides, and I get negative 2x plus 9 equals negative 2. All right, next step is to isolate the variable. So I'm going to get the negative 2x by itself by subtracting 9 from both sides. And I get negative 2x equals negative 2 minus 9. They're all negative, so that's negative 11. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2 to solve for the variable. And I get x is equal to, I don't make this a fraction. I don't make it a decimal. I just leave it as is, except for 2 negatives make a positive. So number 1, you should have gotten 11 halves. Now, if you got 11 halves on your chart, you're going to mark that you got it correct. Done. If you got it wrong, you're going to mark it wrong on your sheet, and then you're going to give me a sentence or two of what you did wrong. All right, here we go. Number 2. All right, so here's problem number 2. So again, we have no distributive property. So and no fraction. So we're just going to start with combining like terms on the same side. So I have negative 5x and positive 2x. When I put those together, that gives me negative 3x minus 5 equals negative 3 minus 3x. Okay, next thing I'm ready to do is move the variables to one side. So if I have a negative 3x and a negative 3x, I can go either side. I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And this is one of those special problems because if you notice, the variables totally cancel out. And what I'm left with is negative 5 equals negative 3. And this was a special case that we talked about last week. Negative 5 equals negative 3 is not a true statement, which means this is no solutions. All right, here's problem number 3. So problem number 3, we do have a distributive property, so we're going to do that first. So we get negative 5x equals negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 9 is positive 27. Okay, we do not have any fractions, and we don't have any combining like terms on the same side. But what we do have is we have variables on both sides, so we need to move those to 1. So I'm going to go to the left. So if I have a negative 6x, I'm going to add 6x to both sides. Negative 5x plus 6x is just 1x equals what's left on the right side, 27. This time, I'm right here, real simple. I'm going to divide both sides by 1, and my answer is just 27. All right, here we go, problem number 4. Got a little more to it. So this time on problem number 4, we have two distributive properties, so we want to do those first. I'm not going to touch this 6 because it's not part of the distributive property. So I need to take positive 2 times x minus 5. So positive 2 times x is plus 2x. Positive 2 times negative 5 is negative 10 equals. Now on the right side, again, this 2 has nothing to do with the distributive property. But what we need to realize is there's a negative 1 here. So I'm distributing negative 1. Negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Okay, again, I have no fractions, so I'm going to look at both sides and see if I have anything that I can combine. So on the left, I've got a 6 and a negative 10. So that's negative 4. So I have 2x minus 4 on the left, because it was negative 4. On the right-hand side, I've got a positive 2 and a positive 1 and a negative 3x. So that gives me negative 3x, and then 2 and 1 give me plus 3. Okay, I am ready to move the variables to one side. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides. That gives me 5x minus 4 equals 3. I want to isolate my variable, so I want to get the 5x by itself, so I'm going to do that by adding 4 to both sides. And I get the answer of 5x equals 7 so far. I have one step left. I've got to solve for the variable, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and my answer is just 7/5. I'm not going to make that a decimal. I'm just going to leave it alone. I can't reduce it. There's nothing I can do to it. Okay, problem number 5. I didn't take a very good picture, but I think it'll work. So problem number 5, I have distributive property on the left that I'm going to do. 3 times 5x is 15x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And then the rest of the problem I'm just going to bring down. Okay, I have no fractions, but I do have things to combine on the left side. So I've got a negative 12 and a negative 3. So they're all negative, so that's negative 15. So I have 15x minus 15 equals negative 5x minus 1. Okay, I'm ready to move the variables to one side. So opposite of negative 5x is I'm going to add 5x to both sides. And I get 20x minus 15 equals negative 1. Okay, I'm ready to isolate the variable. So leave the 20x alone. I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And I get 20x equals 14. So I need to divide both sides by 20. And I get the answer of x equals 14/20, but I can divide both of those by 2, and I have to. So I get the answer of 7/10. All right, here we go, number 6. This one's a little longer and harder. So here we go. So of course we have to do the distributive property. We are not eliminating fractions. That would be step 2, because you never know, they might go away anyway. So when I do the distributive property here, now some of us can do that in our head. 3 goes into 12x 4 times. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8x. But some of us need to write that out. And if we do, then I'm going to do that right now. So negative 2/3 times 12x. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Negative 2 times 4x is negative 8x. Okay? How about negative 2/3 times negative 3 again? Or I mean negative 9. Again, some of us can do that in our head. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Negative 2 times negative 3 is plus 6. I had to think about that myself. Or, if you have to write it out, negative 2/3 times negative 9. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Negative 2 times negative 3 is plus 6. Okay, we're going to bring down the minus 12x, because of course, nothing to do to that. On the right side, distributive property. 1/2 times 14x, that one's easy. 2 goes into 14x 7 times, so 7x. 1/2 times negative 2, that's easy. 2 goes into 2 1 time, so 1 times negative 1 is minus 1. Okay, so look, no fractions, all good. So we're ready to combine like terms. On the left side, negative 8x and negative 12x is negative 20x. Bring down plus 6 equals, on the right, there's nothing to combine. All right, so now we're ready to move the variables to one side. Again, you can either go left or right, either one. Again, I always go left. So it's a positive 7x, so I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. Now, if you would have moved your variables to the right, you would have added 20x to both sides, but we should end up in the same spot. Negative 20x minus 7x, that's all negative, so that's negative 27x. Bring down plus 6 equals negative 1, because there's a negative with that 1, not just 1. Okay, I'm going to isolate my variable. So plus 6, I'm going to minus 6. I get negative 27x equals negative 7. Okay, what am I going to do now? I'm going to solve for the variable. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 27. Okay, nothing simplifies except for the two negatives. So my answer is just 7/27. Yep, it does look like we had a lot of fractions in this homework, but that's what happens when we, are doing equations. All right, next problem. All right, so the next one's a story problem, and notice that says write an equation and solve. If you watched my video last week before you did this assignment, there's one very similar to this. In fact, this one's even easier. So it says Luke has $225 to go shopping with at Hot Topic. He buys a pair of jeans for $57. He wants to buy t-shirts that are $21 each. How many can he buy? Define the variable, write an equation, and solve. Well, first of all, I know his total he has is $225, so that's going to go on the right side of my equation. All right, I know he spent $57 on jeans, so I'm going to put that in my equation. But we want to know how many t-shirts can he buy for $21 each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define my variable. I'm just going to pick R because I don't like using T. R is going to stand for number of t-shirts, because obviously an equation has to have a variable. So if each t-shirt's $21 and we don't know how many he's going to buy and he's already spent $57, we're going to put plus 21, the price of the t-shirt, times however many t-shirts he can actually buy, which is what we're finding out. Now we've got an equation, we're ready to solve it. So we don't have any distributive property, we don't have any combining like terms, we don't have any fractions, we just need to isolate the variable. So I'm going to subtract 57 from both sides, and I get 21R equals, I don't even have a calculator right now, so I'm going to just do the work. So this is 8, and this is 6, and then I have a leftover 1. So I have 21R divided, or equals 168. So I'm going to divide both sides by 21. And what I get is R equals 8. So what's that R mean? What that means is Luke has enough money, he can buy 8 t-shirts. So Luke, and you always write the answer in a sentence, can buy 8 t-shirts. Okay, last one. Number 8. 14 added to twice a number is equal to 9 times the number added to 7. Write an equation and solve. What is the number? All right. So to me, this isn't a story problem. This is just a bunch of words. So we're trying to find a number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let n be my variable. It's going to be my number. Okay, so it says 14 added to twice a number. So some of you last week I saw in some homework you were doing, you thought twice a number was squared. No, twice a number is just 2 times a number. So twice a number, and if my number is n, that's just 2n, and then added to 14. Okay, well we can either put 2n plus 14, or we could put 14 plus 2n. Either one of those are the exact same thing. Okay, then it says is equal to, well that's easy. All right, let's look at the right side. 9 times the number added to 7. So n is still my number. 9 times that, so 9n, and then added to 7. Well, again, we can either put 9n plus 7 or 7 plus 9n. Either way. Addition is the same no matter which way you do it. All right, here's our equation. We're ready to solve it. Again, we have no distributive property. We have no fractions. We have no combining like terms, but we do have variables on both sides. So I need to move the variables to one side. So I'm going to subtract 9n from both sides, because that's a positive n, 9n there. 2n minus 9n is negative 7n, plus 14 equals, over here I have a 7 left. Okay, I am ready to isolate my variable. So plus 14, I'm going to subtract 14. And I get negative 7n equals 7 minus 14 is negative 7. Solve for the variable. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Negative divided by negative is positive, so my answer is 1. So the answer to this problem is the number is 1. Done. Easy. Okay, so what you need to do now is finish filling out the reflection page that I gave you in the module. There's a couple more questions past the chart. Don't forget to answer those. And please submit the reflection page as your assignment today. You aren't submitting the 8 equation problems because you already submitted those on Friday, or you should have. Or you should have today because they were due today before you actually watched the video. All right, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.